What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Morphinominal, your stop for your Power Rangers and Super Sentai and now Kamen Rider review and news right here on our YouTube page, A-Plus Morphinominal. Thank you very much, each and every one of you, for certainly joining me today. A lovely Tuesday, hopefully where you guys are at as well. We're bringing you our Kiramager review for episode number 23 as we continue to chug along with this Super Sentai series, ladies and gentlemen. We actually did go ahead and do a Kamen Rider Saber review, episode number 2. That review did go ahead and drop yesterday, so everybody, thanks Stuart for certainly going ahead and doing that for you guys. And I mean, I know a lot of you are used to seeing Kiramager on Mondays, right? We used to like to play up the idea of Super Sentai Monday around here. But I started thinking to myself, because of the fact that now we've kind of brought on board Kamen Rider, it's kind of made A-Plus more phenomenal, kind of opening up a little bit in regards to tokusatsu just in general. So I got to thinking, like, it can't technically just be Super Sentai Mondays anymore now that we have Kamen Rider. So I've decided to go ahead and move our Toku stuff to Tuesday, so that officially we can be having Toku Tuesdays here at A-Plus Morphinominal. Reminds me of Taco Tuesdays because I love me some tacos. Maybe I'll start eating tacos while I'm doing my reviews. Who certainly knows? But I figured it would be a perfect fit for our Kamen Rider and Kiramager reviews to drop on Tuesday, so we can celebrate Toku Tuesdays with each and every one of you guys. So going forward, ladies and gentlemen, you can expect our Kamen Rider Saber and Kiramager reviews to be dropping on Tuesday. So certainly go ahead and look forward to that. And hopefully it'll give everybody the opportunity to certainly check out the week's episode. So again, our Kamen Rider episode 2 review is up. Maybe I should start talking to Indy and see, like, hey man, if you want to get in on this more phenomenal stuff, maybe you should start reviewing some Ultraman. Maybe we could add Ultraman to our Toku Tuesdays as well. We'll see. Baby steps here, but we're just certainly having a little bit of fun. Next week, guys, I'm going to try and return also some of our watch-alongs, or at least the reaction side of things. So keep an eye out on some other additional content beginning next week for you guys also. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this week's episode. Listen, if you guys haven't subscribed as of yet, and again, you're looking for a brand new home or an additional home for your Power Rangers or Tokusatsu fandom stuff, this is certainly the place for you. So hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification, so when we do drop brand new videos, you will be notified. And of course, if you want to follow us on social media, right here at A-Plus Opinions, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now Twitch for you gamers as well. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get into Kiramager episode number 23. Listen, I know that there are a ton of huge Mabusheena fans out there. Some people out there think she's an absolute adorable cutie. Listen, I didn't mind this week's episode, but like, I will say this, and I've said this before, if you've been following me since our A-Plus Opinions days when we had our YouTube videos up there, I am not the biggest fan of music montages sort of in the middle of my episodes. Like, anytime a character breaks out into like a performance or starts singing or dancing and like takes up a big chunk of the episode, not the biggest fan of. It's like, for me, that type of stuff is just super cringeworthy in the middle of an episode. I feel like certain characters, maybe certain writers and directors can kind of pull it off just depending on the show that you're on. So just to get this out of the way, I wasn't the biggest fan of Mabusheena's performance, and I know that might be an unpopular opinion for some, but it was just a little bit cringeworthy. Like, I appreciate, don't get me wrong, I understand the importance of it being in the episode. I understand the idea of what Mabusheena was certainly doing, and it certainly held true to sort of the theme that this episode was working itself around, right? The idea of, if somebody is considerate of you or does something because you're on their mind, you should sort of reciprocate that two times over, if you will, right? So I get what Mabusheena was certainly trying to do, but for me as a viewer, again, whenever I see like just a musical montage, like somebody just breaks out into some type of song or dance, and there's a big, production piece kind of put together. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss for me. Like Crayon's performance from Real Soldier, loved it. maybe I'm biased because I absolutely loved Crayon just as a character in general. Mabusheena, she's just been okay for me. So maybe when it comes to Kiramager, just wasn't feeling it. Again, I just feel like sometimes that type of stuff belongs in an episode, sometimes it doesn't. For me, at least, it just made it really cringeworthy. At least that particular scene. But overall, there were some great elements here and here to this week's episode that I definitely want to talk about, as we come to find out that the Queen lives. The Queen has survived. That's right. The Queen, surprisingly, out of nowhere, literally within the first 5 seconds of this episode, the bombshell drops on us from none other than Karame's silver gemstone himself, letting everybody know that, hey, the Queen has in fact survived. I know everybody thought that she died because of the curse from the Witch of the Stagnant Sea, but she's not. She's completely alive. And she wind up mastering this ability to sort of transfer her life energy, if you will, sort of into the gemstone that is on her tiara, on her headdress, the crown that she winds up wearing. That gemstone that we see, that blue gemstone right in the middle, it's pretty much holding the life energy or the life source of the Queen, who is currently, I believe she's kind of hibernating or whatever the case might be, but apparently she's getting ready to wake at any minute. I mean, talk about perfect timing, right? When we just dealt with the Grantor Stones trying to save Mabusheena from this particular curse, come to find out, well, hey, we probably could have saved Mabusheena in other ways as well, and this certainly is one of them. I do find it odd and interesting here, the concept of transferring sort of your life energy into a stone. I mean, it shouldn't surprise me just because of the fact that we've seen a character like Takemichi literally turn into a gemstone himself, literally have a gemstone like implanted inside of his chest and things like that. So the merging certainly doesn't come as a surprise to me. What does come as a surprise to me, and what threw me off here, is the fact that Carrot has had this tiara or this headdress, if you will, for years, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact that they're just now finding out that this headdress has an energy source to it is a little bit baffling to me, or at least I'm under the impression that they've had this for a while. Like, I just feel like if you were to get something from Planet Crystallia, wouldn't you automatically do sort of like a complete scan of the object to make sure everything is, copacetic, everything that it works out just fine, sort of thing. So it's, especially of something of that kind of importance, the Queen's sort of headdress with the gemstone, that nobody kind of looked at this item a little bit better to kind of be like, oh, you know what? There are some weird energy sources that we're getting from this. Nobody even bothered to look at it. So it did baffle me a little bit that we were sitting on this the entire time and did not find out about any of it until this particular week's episode, because it literally comes out of nowhere. Our first couple of lines is, the Queen's still alive. And I'm like, what is going on here all of a sudden? Like, did I miss an episode? So they immediately bring the Queen back to a certain extent. She clearly doesn't have her body, but she is in fact talking through her headdress, very much similar to how we have our gemstones when they talk, which I absolutely love. The idea of holding up the gem and like it's talking, and so they just kind of move it around. I've absolutely always loved that the actor themselves has to kind of make those movements for the gemstones when it's talking. I just think it's an added element already to their performance and acting that they have to worry about. So anytime that they have to maneuver a gemstone around to remember their lines, know the gems lines and things like that too. So kudos to the actors that certainly have to deal with those gems and those headdresses, to say the least. But one of the downfalls to this episode this week that again has me just rolling my eyes, it's almost as though these characters haven't learned their lesson about lying to each other, right? Or not being 100% honest or open with one another. I get the fact that the Queen clearly just based off of some of the flashbacks that we've had, that the queen clearly has an issue of how to handle really stressful moments. Really worrisome, terrible anxiety. We get to see that emotionally unstable a little bit when things, when people that she knows maybe come into harm, right? So they're really worried about her, how she's going to react to the knowledge that planet Crystallia is officially gone, that King Orden is officially, well, I don't want to say officially gone, but unknown to everybody there, or I should say, no, everybody there at least is under the assumption that King Orden has in fact passed. So the fact that Takamichi, because he knows that the queen overreacts, is a little overly emotional with certain things, decides like, hey, as big and as important that information is about what happened with Crystallia, let's not quite tell her. Let's just lie to her the entire time and see how long we can get away with it. And for me, I just think that just sends a terrible message, honestly. Like, I appreciate the cover up. Like the cover up, they went deep with this cover up, right? The idea that, oh, we're just putting on the a Planet Crystallian play, right? I can't remember the name of. I think I wrote down the name of the play. I think it's like Jinju Kearney or something like that. Let me see if I can pull this up. Jiju Journey is what I put in there. Crystallian play that focused on 5 master thieves hunting for sort of a national treasure. We even see the queen breaking them down in here. Yellow, who was supposed to be the leader. Red, who is thinking of Juru as this playboy conman, just feels way out of character for somebody like Juru. Pink, who's supposed to be the seductive safe cracker. We've got Green, who's the rich society tomboy, which I think I felt like kind of fit for Cena just a little bit without the rich society aspect of things. And then Blue, even though Blue, our Blue, and Shiguru is the most prolific actor that this group has, he somehow winds up getting the label of the pitiful geek. So I love Shiguru here in this week's episode, just some of his expressions, the way that he reacts to certain things also. So really big fan of that, to be honest with you. But the lengths that this team goes, even when fighting the Mars creature this week, playing it up like, oh, don't worry, Queen, this is just a performance that we're putting on, getting her front row seats to go ahead and watch the action live. But it's very quick that the Queen understands exactly what's going on, that this is very much a very real thing. But again, just the idea of going out of their way to lie, I just think is just a terrible sort of idea that you want to continue to throw around. I mean, I get the fact that the queen finally understood what was happening. Mabusheena kind of going out of her way to help the queen maybe overcome all the terrible news that she's about to handle, right? So we get to see Mabusheena going up there and making her performance. Now, I will say this, I continue to love the flashbacks of Kiramager. I truly do. For me, the flashbacks were really important, especially in regards to Mabusheena's life, because not only do we get the opportunity to see Mabusheena as a kid, but I think we also get to understand just the importance of her relationship with her mother. Considering the fact that this season really started off with us just understanding how close she was to the king, it's now nice to kind of see some of the lessons that Mabusheena has learned from the king, right? The idea of if somebody is considerate of you, you have to pay that back double, and how that life lesson continues into Mabusheena's life, even up into this particular week's episode. So I thought that was pretty telling of just seeing what that relationship was like between her and the queen, and really what the queen truly meant to her. I hope we do get more flashback sequences of just the time of them together, to say the least. But having to see Mabusheena mourning over her mom, always heartbreaking when you see a character like that. But when it comes to just the performance in general, while I certainly wasn't the biggest fan of it, Mabusheena's mother and the queen certainly appreciated it, understanding exactly what she was trying to do, that she could see that Mabusheena was overcoming her own personal fear and embarrassment when it comes to singing and performing in front of people, because of the fact that Mabusheena pushed herself to comfort her mom, right? Being considerate of her mother, if you will. And so now her mom sort of feels like, or I should say, the queen feels like now, in order to pay that back doubly, by paying her back, she now has to be stronger about the demise of King Orden and Planet Crystallia, uh, doubly as much, if that makes sense. So I did love the give and take. I did love that aspect of what the performance meant. But again, it's that type of stuff for some reason just gives me the cringes. But maybe that's just me. But overall, I appreciated the relationship growth here between the queen and Mabusheena. I am fascinated at the idea that the queen has kind of gone back into sort of like this hibernation mode. And who knows how long she's certainly going to sleep for, but I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that she comes back at least 2 or 3 more times. I really would like to see her have some sort of an important role, even if we don't necessarily get her back in full form. I do feel as though, if anything, if there is a character that did personally grow from this episode, I really do feel as though it is Mabusheena. The fact that even she knows at the end of this episode that she's got to get even stronger, it does make me wonder, like, if now she's taken off her kid gloves. If now, I can't remember if somebody mentioned this in the live chat or somebody has mentioned this in the past, of maybe wanting to see Mabusheena as an additional Kiramager at some point in time. I would be completely open to that, honestly. I feel like this episode at least opens it up for possibility if they wanted to. Not saying for sure that it's going to happen, but just some of the way that Mabusheena was talking afterwards, especially after the Zord battle, seeing her in the King Express Zabyun along with Juru. I just thought it was pretty telling, honestly. So we'll see what happens with Mabusheena, but I did like the personal growth in here. I really did enjoy having the queen return, and I hope that she's utilized even more, certainly going in the future. It just felt a little bit odd to me, the idea of immediately lying. Like, we literally just built up everybody on this team, like, becoming partners, right? And understanding the importance of working with one another and being open with each other and things like that. So to kind of come into this episode, and Taka, who is one of the characters that has been trying to learn that lesson, right, of trusting the people that you are working with and whatnot, it just felt odd for him, who seemed to have so much growth in letting these people in, that now he doesn't want to let his mother in on everything. And I get it. You want to protect the people that you love. He clearly knows just how overly emotional the queen certainly can be. So I get the idea of wanting to kind of make that impact of that news a little less harsh. But the first thing to be like, let's lie to her and see how long we can get away with it. I can't roll with that. You should be teaching better lessons than that. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there at the end of the day. In regards to the Zord fight, I thought the Zord fight worked out really, really well. I continue to truly love the King Express Zabyun. They had a really cool scene in here with its final attack, where it's up in the air and you've got the Marsk Beast at the bottom, and it winds up shooting like its final strike lasers down at it. Just the way that the camera angle was looking up at it, the incredible special effects, the huge explosion, and then as the explosion disperses, you see the King Express Zabyun sort of landing right in front of the camera. I thought it was really great camera work and just great angles in general. But I really enjoyed the Zord battle this week also. So overall, guys, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. Certainly enjoyed it. The revelation of the queen being alive was certainly a surprise one. Again, one that certainly left me scratching my head. But overall, I certainly enjoyed it, with the exception of a few hiccups and just some cringy moments. But look, I hope you guys certainly enjoyed it as well. Hopefully more than I certainly did. But again, I thought this was a pretty solid, pretty good episode here this week. So guys, I definitely want to know yours. Again, these are just my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, though, I certainly want to know yours. So please let your thoughts be known in the live chat, or on the live chat. We're pre-recording this in the comment section box below, if you will, so we can go ahead and further discuss this particular week's episode. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that will certainly do it for us here at A Plus More Phenomenal. If any other news drops this week, we'll certainly go ahead and let you guys know. If not, then we will certainly see you Saturday for our live weekly show at noon Central Time, ladies and gentlemen. So certainly join us then. But until next time, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And of course, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Caramate change!